My favorite joke, it kind of doesn't work that well. Yeah, no, there is a good one. Okay, let's start with this. My favorite joke ever. There's an old Chinese man and an old Jewish man sitting on a park bench. Okay, out of the blue, the old Jewish man punches the old Chinese man in the arm. Old Chinese man goes, "Ow! What was that for?" The old Jewish man goes, That was for Pearl Harbor." The Chinese man goes, Pearl Harbor, that was the Japanese. I am Chinese." Old Jewish man goes, "Chinese, Japanese, all the same to me." All right, they sit there a little longer. Old Chinese man, boom, punches the old Jewish guy in the arm. The old Jewish guy, "Oi, what was that for?" The old Chinese man goes, That was for the sinking of the Titanic." The old Jewish man goes, sinking of the Titanic, that was an iceberg. Iceberg, silverbug, goldberg, And it's a clean joke. No cuss words. There's a couple people that were in line in my for my autograph line that they heard me say the S word when I was over there. I know. So then I said, I'm going to start saying it in German. Scheiße.
Except that I'm German.
Yes, so you know. All right. Can we open it up to questions at all? We can start doing that. Yeah? Yes? Maybe? Don't be shy. Throw your hand up. Yes, sir.
I saw you in Vegas, and I thought you were very funny when you stood in line and asked how they were about getting a promotion.
Yes, I was in Vegas for the Vegas convention, and can you open that? Thank you. And Kate Mulgrew was on stage with Robert Beltran, so Jane Wayne Chicote. So I got in line with the rest of the fans, and I got up there, I got up to the mic, and I said, Miss Mulgrew, Miss Mulgrew, I'm just wondering, after dying, coming back to life, being tortured, being stabbed, being kicked, why wasn't I promoted? And the funny thing was, when I was on the show, I was so frustrated about not being promoted because literally all the stuff that Ensign Kim went through, he should have been promoted, the first one to be promoted, right? I called the executive producers up. I said, "Excuse me, why is Kim still an ensign?" The response was, "Somebody's got to be the ensign." What? Are you kidding me? So I was upset, visibly upset. So I remember I actually went to Kate Mulgrew's trailer one day, and I knocked on her door, and she goes, come in. And I said, that's my Kate, come in. So I said, "Kate, why aren't I promoted?" She goes, I know. And as if the actress could have done anything to promote my character. But it was difficult. I remember, people have often asked me, if you're going to do an episode of Voyager, if you were to write an episode of Voyager, what would it be about? And so it's very simple. Ensign Kim would go to sleep, and then he would sleepwalk. He'd just get up out of his quarters and just randomly walk into other people's quarters. And when he gets there, he steals their rank pips off of He puts it on his body. And he goes to everybody's quarters and does that. So now, it looks like a suit of chainmail. All pips like that. Because he's so upset about not being promoted, right? Years ago, I was flying from Los Angeles to Baltimore, Maryland. I was with a friend of mine. We were going to go see our mutual friend who was playing for the Baltimore Ravens. He just got inducted to the Football Hall of Fame. His name is Jonathan Ogden, left tackle for the Ravens. So we went to go see Jonathan play. And when we landed in Baltimore, we were on Southwest Airlines. And for those of you who have taken Southwest, it's sort of a cattle call. You don't have seat assignments. You're just kind of like thrown into whatever seat you take. So we got onto the plane quite late. So my friend was sitting at the front of the plane. I was sitting in the back of the plane. So when we landed, he was already waiting for me. When I get out there, he's standing there with just some guy, a young Asian American guy. And I immediately thought, all right, this guy's a fan of the show. He's gonna introduce me to him. So as I walk up, my buddy goes, "Meet Harry Kim." And I thought he was introducing me. I go, "Hey man, thanks a lot for watching the show." And then my buddy goes, No, this guy's name is Harry Kim." He's like, yeah, I can't believe I finally met you. You know what's crazy? When Voyager was on the air, I was in the U.S. Navy. I was Ensign Harry Kim. And I look at the guy, I'm like, no way. He's like, I know, it's crazy, right? I said, yeah. I said, you and I were the same. And the guy goes, no, I got promoted. That just shows you there's something wrong with the world. When the real Ensign Kim gets promoted, and TV Ensign Kim spends years languishing as Ensign, right? And the producers even made light of that fact. You remember that one episode where I think Kim is standing there, and I guess it's Paris that gets demoted and remoted, and Kim makes a comment. Where's my little, promotion rank pip box? So even the writers made light of the fact that I was not promoted. But the writers would oftentimes, they would tell us things by writing it into the episode. There was an episode called The Demon Planet. Do you remember this? This is the planet where the duplicate Voyager crew came from that planet. It was Kim and Paris that were down on that alien demon planet. And at this point in time in the Voyager series, all the guys in the show had gained about 15 to 25 pounds. Okay? So we're talking about a plump Chakotay, a plump Paris, and a plump Kim. So the three of us, we ended up getting girdles sent to our trailers from the wardrobe department. That's the first move that they did. And then when we were filming this episode, the dialogue from this episode, when Kim reaches down to this pool of silvery liquid, a bit of it gets into his spacesuit. So all of a sudden you hear, life support is compromised, you have this much time until you have no more air left. So now Kim is grasping and struggling for air. Paris tries to help him back to the shuttle, and all of a sudden Paris' suit gets compromised, right? So now the dialogue went like this. Paris goes like, come on, Harry. And I'm like, and then Paris says, promise me one thing. I go, yeah, what's that? If we make it back alive, promise me you'll work out. So the producers, they don't tell us, they don't go like, hey, you guys are getting a little pudgy, go to the gym. They wrote it into the episode. So I immediately, as an actor preparing for this scene, I'm reading this going, those sons of guns. I call up the producers, the same guy that said, somebody's got to be the ensign. His response to writing what he did, I said, I can't believe you wrote that in this episode. And he says, well, if you and Beltran and Robbie McNeil continue on the same path of eating as you've been going on, we're going to have to change the name of this show to Star Trek Voyager, Pigs in Space. Yeah. I know.
But the reason you didn't actually get the promotion was because you were just too good for that job, and if you got the promotion, they would have had to put somebody else in the job, right? So
let's go with that. I'll take that one, for sure.
There are microphones.
Oh, there are mics there.
So if anybody has a question.
Yeah, if you have a question and you're in the back, you don't have to help. There you go. Bazinga Man, hello?
Hello. So then, what's Kim's rank going to be in Star Trek Renegades?
Well, here's the deal. For those of you who don't know, there's a project called Star Trek Renegades. It's a pilot presentation that's going to start filming in October. It's the same people that actually wrote and produced Star Trek with Gods and Men. Has anyone seen that independent Star Trek film? Yeah? Okay. Kim's rank was going to be not an ensign, thank gosh, but here's the issue. I'm not in the project now, so that's the latest development. Yeah, I've actually had to back out. So what will happen is, if this pilot gets picked up as an actual TV show by any network, then they're going to bring Kim back in later stages. But unfortunately, I will not be working on Renegades. I am working on a movie called Unbelievable right now. Unbelievable is a slapstick, broad comedy similar to the movie Airplane, but set on a lunar base. Okay, myself, Tim Russ, Chase Masterson, Nichelle Nichols. They just signed Whoopi Goldberg. Who else is in there? There's quite a few Star Trek alumni that are in this slapstick comedy, which also includes a marionette puppet of William Shatner. It's crazy. But look for it, unbelievable, definitely. Oh, and now that I'm pitching stuff, you guys like my shirt? Keep calling. Yeah! One of the other side things I've been doing is I've been having a bit of a sci-fi based t-shirt company. We have a booth, it's booth 1613, it's in the same room as all the, where the actors are signing. I just want to show you guys some of the other stuff that we have. This is actually from the artist Dean Reeves, that does the covers for all the, for Calgary Expo and for Edmonton Expo. It's a Live Long and Prosper Spock shirt, which is pretty cool, like it. This one Dean came up with, this is in honor of Christopher Lloyd. It says, Emmett's Auto Repair, okay? In small letters, it says, if it fluxes, we can fix it. And then the established date, EST, it says established 1985/1955/1885. So it references all of those. That's kind of cute. And this is Dean's interpretation of Torchwood. It says, Torchwood Casino, where all jacks are wild. I like that one. Because anybody who's been around John Barrowman knows he is wild. Right? Anyway, so this is some of the stuff that we have. So, shameless plug, thank you. Another question?
What was your favorite convention moment in any convention?
My favorite convention moment in any convention? I think one of my favorite would have to be when I was in New Zealand. I was signing autographs in New Zealand, and this gentleman came up and he says, would you sign this for my wife? I said, of course. I said, so why couldn't she be here today? He said, well, she is working. I said, well, what does she do? He said, she's a criminal psychiatrist. She works for the state penitentiary, the New Zealand penitentiary, which is where Tom Paris came from. The New Zealand penitentiary, and her job was to counsel these inmates. And as she counseled the inmates and found out what their issues were in life that led them down the wrong path, the path of crime, she then assigned the appropriate Star Trek episode which dealt with that issue. Because let's face it, most people here know. I mean, Star Trek, yes, you have the storyline, the plot, which is the surface story, but there's always that underneath story. There's a secondary meaning to every Star Trek episode, which is kind of how Gene Roddenberry started it, and they kind of kept that progression through all the different series. And I just thought that was the most amazing thing to hear, that Star Trek was being used to actually help people rehabilitate themselves as therapy. So that was probably one of my most, goosebumpy moments. My most memorable in a not so good way would be I was at a convention in London, England, and I was signing autographs, and I noticed this woman in a wheelchair. She had one leg. She was in a very beautiful dress with one beautiful high heel, and she was wheeling past. And as she wheeled past, she goes, "Harry Kim! Harry Kim!" And I'm looking over my hi. And she goes, "Will you be my after-dinner mint?" So then she wheeled off, right? I noticed she was a little bit inebriated, okay? 2 hours later, she was very inebriated. She came back, and this time she's at the front of my autograph line. And she's sitting right there, and I said, "Hi, how's it going?" And without me saying a thing, she lunged onto the table, all right? She threw herself on the table, shimmied up to me, grabbed me by my collar, and pulled me up and says, "Will you be my after-dinner mint?" Now, most of you guys have gone to conventions. It's very rare that you grab the actor by the collar and pull them close and ask them if they will be your after-dinner mint. Okay? I said something to the effect of, "Well, I don't know if my girlfriend would like that," and that's when I saw her hand reel back. And as she came in, all the handlers were sitting there going, "No." And I was like, "I can't believe this." She slapped the bejesus out of me. So I have like a handprint on my face, right? And she's like drunk, and she just kind of gets back in her chair and wheels off. but that was the most surreal moment. And I think I have to say, I'm probably the only actor in the sci-fi world to be slapped by a fan hard. So, bizarre.
Yeah, at least it wasn't out of water coming.
Yeah. Well, I would prefer water than the hand slapping, actually. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions?
In the back.
What was the reason why they ended the show too quick? I mean, it took 7 years to get home, and you finally weren't home by destroying the board. By the way, in that series, you were a captain of the Starship.
Yeah, I was a captain, but that was an alternate reality, of course. I'll tell you guys, the end of Voyager, the final episode, was a 2-hour episode, right? Two-parter. I felt the first hour was wonderful. I thought the second hour tied it up too quickly, right? It was sort of like, okay, now we're done. And instead of us setting foot on Earth, we end the show in orbit of Earth. It's like, what? I mean, what's going on here? So I really did feel that my suggestion to the producers, which went unnoticed, obviously, I told them, I said, listen, if you really want to make this good, you should keep the first hour as it is, air that on television, and say, to be continued at a theater near you, and did a feature film, a 2-hour feature film, so it would have been a 3-hour finale, instead of just a 2-hour finale. That would have been awesome, but they didn't do that. I remember the final scene was essentially us, the view screen, the admirals talking to Janeway, and they say something like, welcome back, Captain Janeway, and she's like, it's good to be home. So,
He does a phenomenal voice imitation, so if there's a specific voice you want to hear.
So, every time I do my Janeway, I always say, Janeway is a mix between Katharine Hepburn and Smurf. The cartoon Smurf. Or Helium.
Because if you do, when you inhale helium, it gives you that sort of Janeway-esque type of voice.
But I remember in that final scene, when they say it's good to be, she says it's good to be home, and set the coordinates or whatever, and then we're done. And the reaction shot of each person to the getting back home was really kind of, the energy was very low. And I remember in preparation as an actor the night before, even though I didn't have any lines, I felt that Kim, being the youngest Starfleet member of the crew, was going to be the most excited to be back home, right? So my original take as an actor was I was going to be jumping for joy that Kim got back. So when they were gonna flash to me and the admirals were on the screen, I was going to be like, woohoo! I was going to do this thing. But watching the reaction of every other actor just kind of somber, like the reaction shot on Paris, Kate goes, it's going to be home, and Paris is like. They go over to Chakotay, same thing, same scene. Jane went, good to be home, Chakotay. Then they go to Tuvok. Tuvok always looks like that. So I'm the last person to get my close-up, my coverage. So I thought, what else could I do? What else could I do to really affect absolute excitement for being home? And I started thinking, occasionally people are so happy that they cry. There are tears of joy that can happen, right? I mean, me as a person, that's never happened to me, but I thought as an actor, can I pull this off? So literally in a span of 30 minutes, I concocted this plan to do this. And when he came up to when the camera was on me, she said, good to be home. And as an actor, my thought process was this. Ensign Kim is thinking, is this really real? Is this on the view screen? Are these really the admirals? Are we really back? Is this really Earth? Is this some type of trick played on our eyes by the Borg? I mean, what's happening? So it was disbelief, and then acceptance, and then overjoyed. So in a span of 10 seconds or less, I went from it's it, relief, and then tears. And the tears came out. And when that happened, the director was like, oh my God. He was like, can you do that again? And then Jerry Ryan was standing right next to me, and she was clapping. She goes, oh my God, that was amazing. Gooby, she called me Gooby. Gooby, that was so good. So she's clapping. The director's like, can you do that again? I go, yeah. He goes, tighter angle, tighter lens on Garrett. So I thought I was going to get the last shot of the entire series. I thought it was going to be Kim, right? It's cool, tears of joy thing. So I did it again, tears came out again, it was awesome. And then when I watched the show and it came on TV, that scene got moved, okay? The tears of joy were moved. So I called the editors up and I said, what did you guys do? Why did you guys do? Why did you keep that there? They said, Garrett, the reaction of every other crew member to getting back home was so low that even your tears of joy was too much. I thought, and you moved it? Yes, we moved it to the point where the doctor calls up to the bridge. Mr. Paris, congratulations. You're the father of a new bouncing baby boy. And then it flashes to Kim, tearing up over the baby. I was supposed to be with Polana. Sorry. So, anyway, so they moved it. So that was kind of a bummer. But now you know the truth of what happened behind Voyager, the last scene of the day. Yes, sir, right here.
So you're an ensign and on the night crew. In
Yes.
charge. Doesn't that at least give you some joy?
In charge of the night shift? Not really. I often tell people, I say, Ensign Kim is like the night manager of 7-Eleven. Nothing goes on during the night shift at all. So, no, but it was, I did get that one episode, Nightingale, where Kim was captain of that one alien ship. That was kind of cool, to do something like that. But yeah, it was just, it's quite bittersweet when you realize that your character is never going to be promoted, ever. he's a perma ensign, is what he is. There was another question next to you, 2 people over. Yes, sir.
Since you enjoyed comedy, making people laugh so much, how was it to play a street man for that period of time?
I'm sorry?
How was it to play the straight man then for that period of time? To be the more serious character, given your identity for me?
Oh, how was it playing the straight man during the time? It's tough because I wanted to joke around the whole time I was on Voyager. And I remember I called the producers up. I said, hey, here's an idea. Why don't we have a ship-wide talent show? And Ensign Kim gets up and impersonates everybody. And they're like, no. Right? And I'm the type of person, if I call and I ask one time and they say no, I go, okay, no, that's it. They don't want it. And I stop. Bob Picardo, the reason why Bob Picardo, the doctor, got to do so many things is because he would call and call and call. And so it would be Monday. Hello, Bob Picardo here. I'm just wondering if the doctor can sing Italian opera. And they're like, no, Bob. Hello, it's Tuesday. Bob here, Italian opera. No, Bob. Flash forward 2 weeks later. Hello, Bob. Yes, Bob, you can sing Italian opera on the show. Stop